Galio is going to be banned away here first up from Samsung, though, as we switch sides. Blue side advantage now to go over to Samsung instead.
And they ban it first. They don't want to deal with having to trade it for something later. Now, they're on blue side, so it's different, but I do like, okay, Galio was the headache that opened up the new headache of Zac in game 1, so ban it early. And now KT have to engineer the pick ban from the red side. And red side has been much lower win rate so far in summer season, as another game where Atlas, I told you that certain picks would get through, and right now, it's almost all of them.
And yeah, CoreJJ is the one being completely targeted. Remember, in game number 1, it was Talia, Syndra, and Victor, so all mid lane bans from KT. Now they're thinking about completely obliterating the support pool, and Samsung say, bring it on! We can ban our own. So
CoreJJ has shown us some new stuff. He's played Bard this season, can play the Karma as well. Well, they banned Karma last. It leaves so much open, but Zac, you would imagine, needs to be respected. Sounds like a champion Ambition could play. Or is it just opposite day and everyone gets to play Zac? It is.
Yep, so Syndra is going to be the final ban here. Samsung not going to have an opportunity to put Crown on ultimate comfort. And the Zac is the option. That means Scores Elise is on the board, and the Thresh is banned this time around. So Papa Smithy, is the Thresh is the counter going to be enough for Samsung to make this Zac work regardless, as Braum is considered an option here as well, and Score understandably just takes away the Elise.
You can decide the game before Zac comes online by Elise. Elise can have days out. Elise has been super high priority next to the Zac. You're right in that the most tried and true way to repel the engage is gone. Flay is one of the best abilities at thwarting a Zac next to someone like Janna. Won't be Janna from Mata this time. Maybe in the future to deal with that Zac.
He always was an absolutely incredible Janna player, but that's thinking back many, many years.
I like the fact that Karma is taken here by Samsung. It is a flex pick. Crown has played it this season.
Yeah, and it's a great effect as well. His, nuke Karma?
I like to feel like CoreJJ was high-fiving someone for getting them Karma in the draft, because he was just actually like giving one of his coaches the high five.
Like it.
So normalcy here could just be a pushing lane. The bot lane, we may have the mid lane selected for Samsung. Ambiguity in the draft. No ambiguity about KT so far. Where do they want to go? They don't have a lot of information to work with when it comes to the picks so far from Samsung.
Talia is certainly available. Victor as well. We're looking at the bans from the last game, things that were open, as Deft is thinking about the Callista, and they know what at least the AD carry is going to be. So, just the standard bot lane plus jungle for both teams, theoretically, if Samsung are going to be giving CoreJJ the Karma, with the fact that the support pool is already pretty destroyed.
KT wanted more information. They can also start sending up a first pick in the second round with the 4 bans coming through in this next round. Varus was looked over, even though both Deft and Ruler have played a lot of Varus, because Varus into Zac is asking to be kidnapped or squished, depending on how the game is going. So
I was actually banned in game number 1.
But looked past in this game because of the Zac being so strong against it. So far it's going to be top lane bans. Kennen ban against Cuvée. It's been the on-hit Kennen from him. No top lane is selected just yet. Interesting spot. Rumble still available. Went through picks and bans in a game with Smeb in it in game 1.
And is the Rumble going to be an option here for KT to first pick away?
Especially now with the Kled ban. They're basically daring Samsung to leave open Rumble.
Does give Pawn an opportunity to play something like the Zed in the mid lane, with the fact that Rumble and Elise will both be on the field for KT. A lot of magic damage already answered. That is assuming they pick that one up. And now LeBlanc actually banned away, so Pawn, a lot of respect given to him. Rise? Okay, probably not.
Rise and Rumble pretty close. Could go somewhere different in the top lane as well.
The blind Fiora. Is she strong enough for the blind pick, Papa Smith?
With Doran's Shield at full power on patch 7.11, the answer is yes, and Smeb is a great legacy Fiora player. Played it in and out of meta. Even played it at Worlds, lost that game. Got a bit too overconfident for the Rocks Tigers. But Doran's Shield opens up blind pick Fiora. And now it's saying, Cuvée, what you've got. This feels eerily like that spring season semifinal where he opted into carries and said, okay, either take a carry into me or get slaughtered. They'll take the Jarvan, which certainly can go Fiora's way after a couple of items.
Oh, and here we are. So Crown going to be taking most likely the Karma into the mid lane as CoreJJ takes down the Lulu. One of the last remaining supports available for him after everything else was largely banned away as far as that upper tier. Thresh and Tahm Kench most certainly a cut above the rest at the moment.
Come so far established. Wave clear very important for KT to make this Fiora draft work. So Victor or the Orianna are the picks. Victor is going to be the confidence pick from the side of Pawn. Both of them have worked for him this season. But when you have Kalista, Elise, Braum already drafted and a Fiora to split push, wave clear was only what Pawn really needed to contribute from the mid lane. So he'll go the Victor in this scenario. Didn't really have much of a ball carrier. Elise is probably going to go pretty heavy on the AP. The 4-man unit needs to stand strong, and Smeb needs to get his split push going. So expect a lot of top lane focus to try and keep the Fiora down.
Yeah, and we'll see whether the Zac is once again going to be what these teams need to achieve victory. We've been seeing so much of the dang champion so far today. 4 out of our 5 games.
Madness.
Just complete madness after 97% ban rate up until this point. But everyone's throwing the gauntlet. Everyone was listening to Marto with the crazy words that he says, no matter what, is going to be the answer. So more Zacs to be observed. But now, with the Elise available to counter him, I believe Zac is actually 0% against Elise.
Sample size of 1, I believe.
3.
I
believe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There was the game against MVP, I believe. Zac was the answer. We can continue about that, the thoughts about that, though. But Atlas, this could be a shorter series than expected.
Yeah.
KT exploded onto the Rift in Game 1, and they're looking to back it up in Game 2.
Well, we'll see whether they can do it as we hop onto Summoner's Rift. Still so many question marks. Now time to have them answered. And here we are. All of the fans very excited to see a game number 3. I'd like to think, Papa Smithy. But did you get to the bottom of it? Was I... Oh, wow. What just happened?
Bit of violence from the female fan there. Knocked the glasses off. Ostensibly.
Maybe they were her glasses and she just wanted them back. But she couldn't see very well, so hit him in the face.
I've never seen that much violence by a Korean fan. Great stuff.
Great. Are you...
So
see, this is why we have Joel in the booth.
Our headsets telling us that if that particular poster was going to be shown, she would do exactly what she did. So there you go, a prediction.
Love it. Okay.
So it is 2-0 so far for Elise versus Zac. Once before today, and then the earlier victory. So it could be 3-0 by the end of this game. Score again can profit off some very early pathing decisions. Sending Smeb into an advantage would be very big for the side of KT in the top lane. Pawn just kind of wants to be left alone to get 1250 gold and wave clear with his Hex Core upgrade. But Deft and Mata are on the super level 1 lane. They're not camping the brush. If you can camp the brush, someone face checks you. Kalista and Braum will very often pick up first blood in that scenario, but couldn't win the race to lane, and it is double ranged versus the Kalista Braum, so push advantage should be there for Samsung.
Geometry advantage is definitely there for Core JJ, though. He was able to split that Glitter Lance beautifully. Okay, Core JJ, one more for the stun, and that's going to be at half health for Deft.
There's a Rend as well.
That's a lot of damage. Unfortunately, the Lulu doesn't have a Doran Shield.
But fortunately, she's the support, so she brings 3 biscuits. So can shrug off a lot of that and still ensure that the push advantage is there by the side of Samsung. Don't expect Zac to be paying a mission to the bot side anytime soon, so a push advantage when you have a farm jungler, one of the few scenarios that can work against you.
Double Fury battle as well for Smeb and Deft on the side of KT, so wanting to fight people a heck of a lot of times. Would have thought Warlords would work quite well for Kalista. Deft wants to just do more damage.
One-track minded. You could tell from his reaction flash.
Yeah.
He was 1v1ing Ruler's Ashe in Game 1, what the mindset is, and for all the KT players, they were kind of one-minded, both in their smart team calls, and also everyone was looking for the big outplay, but pulling it off crucially, and not giving any advantages back to the side of Samsung.
And I'm just remembering that Baron fight as well, Papa Smithy. KT looking the most coordinated that I've seen them since this iteration of the roster came in. That's a big call. Difficult to know, but just felt like it, man.
Well, will be spotted on a ward, visiting bot lane. Doesn't really worry about a Zac counter gank. That is on the top side of the map. We know that information.
Yep. Score just throws out a cheeky one there. The Winter's Bite does land from Mata, so denying a lot of the aggression. Deft almost managed to stick those red stacks in core JJ.
So let's have a think about the team comps. Well, we're right in the early game. The action hasn't started to come through. You look at Samsung, and it's very easy to say, well, if Fiora wins against the Jarvan, Samsung are in trouble because they have Lulu, Karma, Zac, very low damage. But remember that the last time we saw Crown play mid lane Karma, it was going a very high damage build. He did not go for the utility build. He chose to go in for just pure AP damage. Luden's Echo, Magic Penetration, Leandri's his favorite pickup, and just blasted down the front line. And while Braum is there to block damage, if Braum's Unbreakable is down, this is another one of those team comps where you could go and actually register Mantra Q damage for the Karma. So I think this may actually be damage threat coming through from the Karma, and seeing Death by a Touch over something like the Wind Speakers lets you know he has an aggressive mindset, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a pretty high damage build from Crown, because if it's just Ruler doing damage, if they really do have the headaches in the top lane, they will need the other damage coming through from Crown.
Yeah, I actually really like it as well, and it's not the Thunderlords either for having that early game damage threat and falling off late game. It's going for that late game ticking damage from the Death by a Touch to really make sure those Qs are hurting. And it was what he picked up the last time we saw it. And it looks like Morellonomicon will be item number 1 as that lost chapter comes in. So I like it so much from Crown. It was a joy to watch his Karma the last time. Should be a similar thing once again. And now against Pawns Victor, certainly a champion that Crown knows a heck of a lot.
Haven't been impressed by a lot of teams playing around their Fioras. You know, Antara played a good Fiora, but kind of got to late game earlier this week rather than being babysat. Seeing the trades continue, Smeb finds the Vital.
Yeah, lots of good Vitals here for Smeb as well. There's going to be the first bad one of that trade. Still, QV coming out pretty good shape.
Triple laning items with the Doran's Shield, refillable, and the Doran's Blade.
That's the soldier build. Got my short sword, got my shield.
It's the build
you adventuring.
It's the build you go when you're confident that the game will reach a point where you can afford to delay a power spike and still be powerful. He knows what 2 items represent for the side of Fiora in this matchup, and falling behind is the only thing he can't afford to do. So an extra 500 gold in the early game isn't going to be the difference in this game.
Yep. Now actually going to send QV home as well, most likely. Doesn't have any mana left over to throw those Qs through.
But just to finish my point, I'm really looking for KT. Once Smeb gets those items to actually be warded for, actually get to make the 4-1 plays that we know Fiora is capable of, rather than just farm, 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 and win because his teammates were playing really well on the 4v4. We've seen too much of that side of Fiora, and not the Fiora with coverage to actually be the split pushing pressure, taking inhibitors in the face of top laners like we know she can be.
Yeah. Crown actually going to take a heck of a lot of damage. Flash burn, and that was just the whole lot dropped onto Crown, and he didn't have an answer.
And he was correct in that situation to burn the flash. He would have actually been stunned up by the edge of the W on the gravity field. Lane swap already initiated. We've seen many lane swaps. This is an early one. Don't want to deal with the Fiora lane anymore. Mata's already in position. We can see a lot happen here.
Yeah, and look at this bait play as well out of Smeb. He held on to his movement for quite some time, but the rest of them all make their way back up towards the top side. And with the Cloud Drake spawning first, this makes sense for the switch to happen very quickly.
Seems like one item is the go time for lane swaps from scrims, given that we've seen it in basically every game recent history.
Oh, the Cocoon flashed at exactly the right time from Ruler. That is huge. Double flashes immediately as soon as Score walks in.
It's a lot of purchase just from the Cocoon, like you say. Now 5 flashes available for the side of KT. 1,400 gold, Bilge Waters on both AD carries, a Cloud Drake, which doesn't need to be contested. And that's why, with the preference on the Rift Herald, especially for KT, who have the Rend potentially to be combined with the Smite, and all of Elise's missing HP damage. Everyone topside, and we got the Australian meta in full display.
Yeah, it's all switched up. And Smeb, the only one of them that was slightly behind. KT actually going to pull ahead by 100 gold. It was 200 the difference. Now Smeb catches up in CS. And I only talk about it because this game at 8.5 minutes is about as close as you can possibly get.
No disagreements with you. Samsung's comp is simpler to play in the late game. They don't have to coordinate around a 4-1. Java and Zach, we've already seen what sort of engage those two can provide. So late game much more straightforward, but explosiveness on basically every member of KT. There's probably going to be some initiation Fate's Call into Glacial Fissure plays from the Callista Braum. And will the side lane just be the ticking time bomb we expect it to be? Only a Vamp, Scepter, and laning items. Very much building towards a future, but far away at the moment for Smeb to get his 2 items.
Yeah, only a few bits in that back pocket at the moment, but is farming up very nicely, and now with the lifesteal should be able to stand up against Cube. Fair bit better. Having a Vamp Scepter, refillable potion, and a Doran's Sword and Shield.
That was a weird way.
I tried to say them both at the same time, Papa Smithy. Didn't know which one should come first.
A
Probably should have been the shield. Ishmael. Sword. My sword.
You slipped into an interesting accent there.
I don't even know what that accent was. But I do like Schwartz. I think that's a quote. I just don't know where it's from. If someone knows, please let me know on Twitter. You can feel free to call me an idiot at the same time if you'd like to.
It's fair.
Yeah. It's the...
It's Papa Smithy way.
Just do as your boy would do. Brown will grab himself a blue buff. Pawn makes his way back towards the mid lane to continue assaulting creeps over and over again. He hasn't been targeted though, as some of the victors that we've seen in the LCK have been, especially with a ganking jungler like the Zac.
Mada has snuck in his way to the top lane, wasn't noticed getting into the second brush. The Fate's Call play could be coming soon. No Glacial Fissure available for Mada. We're getting fireworks.
Well, okay, holds on to the cocoon for a very long time. Glacial Fissure does come down, but it's a fantastic arrow. There's the kidnap, and they grab Deft. He's unable to grab anything, and it's going to be Crown that nets himself the kill. The teleport's enough, and make it a double as Cube, he turns up, and he picks one up as well.
Yeah, Score went for the first move, flashed in, held the cocoon, missed it on the back end, though.
Okay. Consolation prize donated over. Core JJ not exactly having the series of his life on the Lulu now, but the Zyra as well was a pretty bad time. And look at the wave clear from Pawn. He's able to save this turret completely.
Let's get that first big buy. CDR boots and also the first Hex Core upgrade, and Smeb cancels teleport when Cuvée completed it. And you get some free CS in the bot lane as well.
KT probably feeling somewhat okay about this. It's only 500 gold now in the lead.
So as Mada hits 6, they go for the all-in play. Score tries to get the prediction by holding on to the cocoon, then firing a right. Well done by Ruler to go left, and then the kidnap onto Callista. Goodbye, Def. Theoretically, teamfight going to be 1 for Samsung. Nowhere for Mada to go. His W was on cooldown, no stand beside me. On the mini-map, we are seeing what happened. On the main screen, Core JJ getting exploded. But perhaps the more important thing we saw picture-in-picture is that the Rift Herald, first of the series after Game 1, had no Rift Herald taken, goes to Samsung, who have been the best team at using Rift Herald so far in summer season.
Yeah, we'll see where they're going to utilize it this time around. Could be a learning experience for all of us. Papa Smithy?
They're probably pretty desperate to get rid of the mid lane turret. Victor, very well known for keeping turrets up forever. But going to be difficult to engineer that, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
Right now, the vision once again is shallow. Getting deep vision on a Zac, making him predictable is important, and especially when you're dealing with Rift Herald, having advanced warning of where Zac is tantamount. But for now, it's Pawn against the AD carry and support in the mid lane. Surprising to see that KT haven't rotated theirs over. There will be the Rift Herald, so the dual lane's going to get here pretty slowly.
Yep, chuck it down in the mid lane now, looking to try and defend. Should be able to do so, as Death Ray is going to help out. Score also going to help as well, and look at that. Rift Herald should be taken. So only about half the health of the tower. Oh, Deft! No flash available. That is going to be the elastic slingshot. No ambition! Denied! He's stunned up there as well as Deft now trying to dance away, but look at that! Crown's in through the back end, and Mata once again saves his AD carry's life, and Ambition, he's going to get killed for it. I have no idea how Samsung were unable to grab that kill because they had every angle that you could possibly want.
Mata doesn't have the Thresh, but he has the Braum. Between the Unbreakable and the Glacial Fissure interrupted all forms of engage, and Ambition goes down all alone. In the bot lane, Tiamat completed, trades going further and further to the side of Smeb. It's time to fall apart again for Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but still, all the credit has to go to KT, especially for that last play. A red side jungle of KT's. Just have no idea how Def managed to survive. Could imagine that most other situations, a lot of other AD carries would have died there.
Pulling off the engage against Braum is tricky. It's not quite Thresh levels of interruption or Janna, but right up there. Glacial Fissure has to be invested, but it's so much value on it, and no one was diving in with Ambition because from those angles, only Zac can make it so far and so deep into the enemy jungle. It takes a lot longer for people who have to walk back to get that sort of impact, and Ambition goes down, and will KT be the first team to take down Zac twice, even at his current power level?
Just insane. Smeb, he's going to be at least flanked by Core JJ. Turn him into a little beastie. Not going to, just yet.
A lot of mind games about when the riposte is used. They spot Klister and Braum.
That weak point comes in, Unbreakable. Good to go up. Smeb was taking a fair bit of damage, but score is here. Pawn shows in the mid lane, so they know that at least it isn't a 5-man party.
Now the bot lane returns bot because the only neutral objective to fight over in the near future is going to be the Drake. Doesn't matter that it's Cloud. You want your duo lane where the highest priority neutral objective is. For how many seasons? 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably in recent memory, it has always been the bot side of the map. But with so much power loaded into the Rift Herald, even if the one this game wasn't a game-breaking use of the Rift Herald, we're going to continue to see early swaps bot lane to top. But now returning to bot lane with the Drake stacking, the only thing left to look at.
Yep. Arrow, we witnessed just lazily list towards the bottom side of Deft.
You wanted to say lazily and listlessly, didn't you?
Listed lazily is what I was going for.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe wave clear wars, not a lot of action between the Victor and Karma. We're spoiled by that attempted all-in that Crown had to flash out of earlier.
Yeah.
He is going for this offensive build, Merlinomicon Rush. He has been the only mid lane Karma going damage in recent memory, you know, since Karma mid lane became a thing about a year ago after Lulu mid was taken out.
Oh, Cocoon almost finding Ambition. Clear out the vision though, KT still skulking around this Cloud Drake. Score probably wants to go and actually farm some of his jungle though, eventually. Be behind Ambition as far as gold is concerned.
Gold is almost even. 300 gold lead for Samsung, so nothing to write home about. Increasingly, it seems like building around the Fiora, who's inching towards those power items, will be the big story of the mid-game. And I love it when it's a scenario like this, where either Cuvée teleports out of lane, makes big engages, does the team thing, or the split pusher overtakes the top lane. Clear win conditions for both of the top lane champions. It can really warp how the game goes.
Cuvée, he's in trouble. The Grand Challenge does come in. Those weak points are looking to be defended, but they're not going to be. He is forced to use that flash. Teleport going to be cancelled by Crown, so definite advantages now gained by KT and Ambition. He cannot go in. The Karma nowhere near. His pawn's going to turn up as well. They're looking for first brick on the side of KT. Perfect hex core done as Pawn sucks Ambition back into the middle of that one, but Smeb just destroys so much damage, but he flashes. Mata goes in with the Fate's Call, so much damage after the double knockup and the Chaos Storm, and Def flashes once again. An arrow hits Mata in response. His Elastic Slingshot to put him in range of Deft, who just dances away. These engages Papa Smithy right on the edge, but not quite tipping over.
Yeah, the turnaround damage from Crown actually rushing AP on the Karma. Needs Large Rod on top of a Merlinomicon. Frightened KT. They tried to make the immediate runaway as Skull wasn't spotted in that scenario, but will back away.
Yep, still needs to get his iron in these cocoons. Seems like Ruler has his fancy feet in the right directions this game. Can't quite find the arrows. Although Deft did have to flash out of the last one. Can certainly know what Score is doing. Sometimes it is a big deal. Sometimes you can just get into the head of some of these players. As Smarter just going to stand behind a minion, gets out of the way of that one, but it's a good stretching strike, and the Let's Bounce is there as well. Deft trying to dance out of the way. It's just not going to be enough. The double kill for Ambition.
Glacial Fissure down in that scenario, Atlas. No way to deal with the Zac this time around. Ult still available bot lane.
Yep, Smeb going to get another flash. I believe it was actually the flag drag that got QA to safety. Wouldn't have been able to flash in that scenario had he not used it, so I misspoke earlier on. That is going to be the reason why.
But it begins. Smeb winning all ins against the Jarvan, going to be soloing down the outer bot lane turret. Doesn't get better for the Jarvan in the lane, but we know the counterplay. We've already seen what can happen with just Ambition. You add the Cataclysm in, while Deft, Marta's flashes are both down. The game is not over, even if for now, Fiora will be an unattainable matchup for QV to remain in parity.
Just need KT to stay safe against what are pretty impossible ganks to detect from Ambition. Samsung, you mentioned a bit of an easier task as far as straight up engagements are concerned. Jarvan always wants to be going in. Ambition can create a party for him, have fun in as well. Especially with the AoE damage of that Cataclysm doing a heck of a lot of work. But Deft can at least jump out of it with his passive.
And if it was any other jungler than Zac, even a jungler with a similar power level to where Zac is, you'd be okay if you were KT. But the problem they have is that Fiora is top, either going to be split pushing with vision or without vision. They're probably percentage players to ward around the Fiora and just wave clear in mid. But if you just wave clear against a Zac, you're never going to be strong enough as a four-man core to put down vision to make the Zac predictable. And Zac does things no other champion in League of Legends can do. So even their obvious game plan is kind of thwarted because they need to get picks in the 4v4 to just get down the vision to stop Zac engaging on them when they try to stall. The stall here seems impossible because the biggest stall breaker in League of Legends is Zac.
Yeah. Right now he's just going to take down a Cloud Drake. It's going to be first dragon of the game. Not exactly all that imperative, but movement speed, always a good idea. Is Score going to get arrowed? He's going to try and wander his way out. Glacial Fissure punishes the wall mostly. Score at least survives.
Guessing Unbreakable was on cooldown. It's kind of strange to use Glacial Fissure in that scenario. Another tool that's been used. Does mean that Zac is going to have a freer time if there's ever to be a team fight while the ultimate is down, and KT know that. They back away. They give up the bot lane turret, and so far Samsung are playing really well around the Zac. Ambition struck me. If you can play Gragas, feels like you can play Zac, and so far that has been true.
Utility junglers are most certainly his wheelhouse. And if this was a gambit that KT were throwing because they didn't expect Ambition to play Zac, I think that would be largely ridiculous. He makes his way back top.
He was on a 5-0 Gragas, for him this season, and then really let his team down in multiple ways. Couldn't get vision for Crown in the early game, then Crown started to fall behind. Started walking up to contest objectives alone. The Ambition solo missions that we've chided him for in the past. It's kind of the greatest hits of Ambition when he struggled on the Rift, but it's good to see that given a bit of power, he was the one given the first pick, the prized jungler, and he can shake off what was an awkward first game performance and return to the class that has been Ambition in 2016 and what we've seen from him so far this season.
Now I think a lot of it has to come down to side of KT, this stage of this game. Now 2.4k down, Deft sitting on 0-2-1. Kalista, a champion that took him a while to get the hang of. He was back on EDG. Once he did, terrifying.
Control ward line, pretty advanced for the side of Samsung. They know they win 4v4s and have so many engagement options. KT need a deep ward because without that, everything is very difficult for them to understand. And with the wards that are set up, QV has a lot of great teleport spots to make a Cataclysm play of his own.
Yeah, and Smeb, not a whole lot of options to try and stop that teleport from coming in, bar killing QV. Deft waiting in the brush. Ambition going to move up top. Charge is clearing out that way, but Smeb, he is going to get knocked up. Ruler's there, needs to create some distance, but Smeb looking to just die here. just going to be the roam. It's now Score looking to try and take down Ambition, but not going to be the case. Elastic Slingshot is enough. KT look like they don't have the answers like they did the last game, and now Crown going for the tower dive. Odd maneuver. Chaos Storm goes down. Rule is going to be denied. That is going to kill. Okay, he might actually just die here. No, he's going to just yet. That last tick of the Chaos Storm means that if Pawn had a Q, he would have just flat out killed it.
Yeah, giving up a lot of his health bar, like you know, Atlas. In that scenario, they wanted to walk up, take the turret whilst Fiora was dead, but now with only 10 seconds left, it's going to be more difficult to engineer a pick, and Pawn still has cleanse up. My impression was he wanted Pawn to cleanse the tether, and then the Ash Arrow would have been able to register, but he wasn't able to do that. That means the Ash Arrow could be sidestepped.
And that is going to at least guarantee the turret. This QV comes in around the backside. The outer easily gained by Samsung.
Samsung are super on the front foot, like KT were in game one. Zac pick, with all the engage they have, has allowed them to make plays around the map, and Fiora trying to split push without adequate vision was collapsed on by Roller, of all people, on the Ashe. Not often you see the flanking Ashe plays, but
yeah,
KT just can't set up like they want to. Their setups were so clean in game one, but focusing on the Fiora with the draft means they can't have as clean setups in this game. That means the map pressure has been almost solo to the side of Samsung Galaxy.
KT looking to try and deny some vision of this Baron. A lot of members of Samsung actually down here. Double teleports are available, so that can be misleading.
A different build from Smeb. Going to be going for Trinity Force this game. Has a Sheen.
I believe we've seen this once before, at least.
Big build in solo queue. Yeah. Against Zac and Jarvan, I would have thought Black Cleaver, especially with Randuin's already complete for the Zac, going very tanky. But valuing the split push pressure that Trinity Force will provide, and also makes him just insanely slippery.
Yeah. I like it. Bit of extra movement speed there as well.
Different take on the build for sure.
QV does have 2 items completed. Those 2 kills helping him as far as his CS deficit is concerned. He probably has more money, given the fact that they have 3 turrets to 1. Given this is only a 4,000 gold lead, if KT can actually get around the map, get some of these waves shoving forward, could be a good opportunity for them, especially if Smeb's able to freely get under there. But look at the vision that's forward for Samsung towards the top side. This
look at the vision
pit,
that Smeb doesn't have, right? On the other side of the coin, Ruler walking down looked like an attempted gank because Fiora is operating with nothing. Needs the rest of Samsung to be in vision to know if he's safe. So, as you say, vision really nice for Samsung and the top side, and KT's vision, where they're strongest around Fiora, is minimal.
QV still here, still with a fair bit of money in order to try and answer. Will be a Trinity Force picked up. You have to think the next time Smeb goes back to base.
Chase is
once
on.
again, we've got the Ruler gank attempt. There's going to be Winter's Bite. Ambition denied as he tries to get his way back down. Pawn had a great opening, but there are flashes from everywhere. Samsung do make their way out. Oh, Smeb's put in the little baby cage, unfortunately. The lunge, Flash gets out of the way, utilizes the riposte greatly, but Ruler flashes forward, wants to take Smeb down, who's trying to answer, but goes for the engage a little bit too late. Couldn't quite decide his target, and that 2v1 goes in favor of Samsung.
Pings from Smeb, you'd imagine, around the Baron. KT had a lot of time to make some decisions, cleared vision, but rushing it down was not a realistic objective, and Ruler will continue to push up in bot. They invested a lot there, did Samsung. Flash on Ruler. Could definitely be a big concern when the fight opens up. Kind of like the Fate's Call may be enough to close the distance on the Ashe, but for now, only just a single kill to KT, but the second time that Smeb has been thwarted, trying to apply split push pressure.
Yep, 4 flashes actually invested from Samsung, but not being QVs. This Ruler's going to steal away blue buff. This Mountain Drake should go in favor of Samsung as well. Okay, plenty of wave clear on the side of KT. They can try and stall this game out. Only 5,000 gold means that gold lead is nothing to really talk about in any actual sense just yet. But the tools that Samsung have are getting scarier and scarier. And if they can hold on in a 3 versus 4 scenario while the 2v1's going on against Smeb, then that takes all that power out of the split push that you were talking about. Scary prospects here for KT.
That's why it's been kind of the story of summer, of the disappointing picks that people bigged up before season. Fiora seems to be the most disappointing because, okay, she's getting through laning phases way better than she could in previous seasons, but teams have not got better at setting up around Fioras, and in the end, it feels like a lot of empty CS, and then maybe like Untara, you can make one team fight work, but what you actually picked the Fiora for so far hasn't been often the reward that you intend it for when you're blind picking Fiora late in a draft.
Yeah, you're looking for the massive Fiora to dominate any sort of split push and put your opponents in impossible situations. And is it just the fact that we're not seeing the defensive play out of the team with the split pusher that we want to see, Papa Smithy? Why aren't the Fioras working?
I've said it a couple of times. In this particular game, it's the Zac making it that they can't get deep vision and they can't just pull back and wave clear while providing coverage of only the Fiora. Zac warps games because of his ability to dive even the Victor who's trying to wave clear. But in other games, I think it's a lot easier to pick a lot of engage and force fights. It's the solo queue way compared to building up around a strong 4-1 is much more specialized skill set that not all teams can actually pull off with the same level of effectiveness.
See Deft and Marduk going for some sort of cute play over the backside, but Pawn's going to get in here. Gravity field, not quite enough to stop Ambition from elastically slinging himself out. Oh, Smeb looking for the kill onto Cuvee. Grand Challenge goes down, but there's the Cataclysm, and they both get out. Okay, see you guys.
Probably the right move to jump away, but Samsung started the Baron. Not the fastest Baron, remember. They only have Ashe and a single Mountain Drake to do real damage.
Yeah, Sentinel's going to spot this out. The score takes a massive amount of damage from that Q. Pawn comes in, and here's the teleport from Cuvee. They really want to make this into a fight as Pawn has to try and turn this one around, but that Chaos Storm doing so much work. Immediate cleanse, and then the flash to get himself out of the engagement. Now Cuvee has to do the same thing. Smeb's in here, and now wants to start up a big battle. Ambition doing so much work, and it's a great cocoon to break up this battle, but Smeb's already dead. The gravity field from Pawn does a bunch of work, but he's knocked up now, and Ruler, he's starting to get the work done. Deft trying to dance this one out. Does he have the rend available though? He gets turned into a little critter and will get taken down. Cuvee comes back, and Samsung, this is what we're expecting in game one. Beautiful coordination. Look at those health bars. Just juggling the aggro like nobody else.
Yeah, making the team fight comp work, but only just out as they turn onto the Baron. Elise is still here, flashing, low health. No flash available either. Score wants to pull a rabbit out of a hat. This would be way against the play, and this is a very early attempt at a repel.
Yeah, and it's still going to die. Just slam dunk by Cuvee. The Baron is going to be their reward. 10-2 in kills. This game is starting to look incredibly one-sided. And it wouldn't be KT versus Samsung if we didn't go to 3 games. I'm really excited to see that we're going to see it go the distance as opposed to the last best of 5 we saw these two teams in.
So Score had got heavily poked out, and you thought, okay. And Cuvee plays this really weird. He starts up getting knocked up. He had queued over the wall previously, so didn't have access to the gap close. Gives up a lot of his health bar, and you're like, maybe KT can do it, really against the run of the team comps. But then Fiora gets focused down, and while Deft is free hitting, he's isolated on the back end by Ambition, and he's just dumping spears into Ambition, who really isn't worried about falling low. There was no AoE rends coming off in this particular game. Able to set up turnaround. Cuvee even dunks him with the flag and drag, so that was just a compositional advantage that Samsung drafted for. The Fiora not getting the work done this game. Plenty of farm. Pretty empty farm if the fights continue to happen like that.
Yep, still trying to build that damage as well. Committing to this split push as the inner turrets are falling left, right, and center. Top lane in control, and that is going to be Smeb at least taking down an outer turret. Gravity field doesn't do too much, and Chaos Storm has to be invested just to defend this. The next wave is going to be a difficult one as Ambition just launches himself on top, and this inhibitor turret will mean the breaking of the base of KT. Feels a bit like deja vu. This blue side seems to be working out very well for both teams.
Getting Zac on blue side has been all that's really been necessary. He's again, even without being as copiously involved, been so big as, speaking of big.
Yeah, the damage explosion definitely working out on the side of Crown. This Deathfire Touch Karma with the Luden's Echo as well as that Morellonomicon is just doing buckets of damage. Now with a Void Staff as well. Doesn't have his Leandries, which makes me a little bit sad, but I can at least forgive him for that one, just because the Qs, especially with the mantras, are looking pretty dangerous.
The ban focus and treatment of Crown in game 1 was very smart from KT and what opened up the Zac first pick. In game 2, KT actually put a lot of the bans into Core JJ, who still found the Lulu and looked very comfortable. Crown got Karma very early. It is the flex pick, but kind of felt like it would be comfortable wave clear from the side of Samsung. And now this is more the Samsung game we were looking for in game 1. Can we see Zac slip through the first pick in 3 games in a row on blue side, Atlas?
It's pretty weird. Papa Smithy? I'm not sure. It's like everyone forgot that he should be permabanned. And everyone wants to test every jungler out to see whether they've actually been able to practice him. Turns out you don't really need to a lot of the time.
The Mighty Bear way.
Yeah. Because he's just pretty good regardless. That being said, if I was going to give it to anyone, I wouldn't want to give it to either Ambition or Score. Just too much pedigree there, as now Ambition dives a little bit too far forward, possibly. It is going to be the catch, though, as Pawn unable to get anything done, and Ambition soaks all of the damage and doesn't care. He's still got the passive. It's just not the target that you want to be focusing down, but he just creates so much of a space and engage area that once again he just dives forward, lets bounce, delivers the Fiora to the middle of the fight. It is Deft at least able to pick up one, may have a reset available, but nope. That is going to be inhibitor turret. Sorry, Nexus turrets falling down. And game 2 belongs to Samsung. We're going the distance tonight, Papa Smithy. It's going to be game 3 between KT and Samsung Galaxy.
It wasn't quite the firepower of game 1, but maybe even more controlled by Samsung, who with this comp, with so much comfort on the side of the Karma mid lane, allowing for the wave clear, and Ambition making the plays after really falling down in its Gragas game in game 1. Now the pick ban, I think, has to really be under the microscope. No team can be picking up the Zac in this final game. KT will be on the blue side, and with the blue side win rate of 100% today, that's going to be a big advantage for them. Let's see if Samsung can have a different plan, because they saw how game 1 went when they really allowed KT to dictate the draft to them. They cannot allow KT to dictate the draft again.
Yeah, most certainly can't, and I don't think anyone should be letting Zac through. I feel like game number 3 needs to be a Zac-less game, Papa Smithy.
But does that mean a Galio game?
Ooh. Is that the forced trade that KT are going to get? You know that they want it. You know they want to force something like that out of Samsung on the red side. The first pick has been so incredibly important every single time. Game 3 is going to decide it all. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the decider between KT Rolster and